As the Calgary Flames continue to trim down their roster, we're starting to get a better idea of who will be on the opening night roster. But there's still some very tough decisions to be made, especially one regarding the man on a PTO, Mr. Tyson Barrie. If he does get signed and he's in, then who is out? Either way, he's making it tough on Ryan Huska and company to make that decision because of how well he's playing. We're going to get into all of that and more, but first I want to welcome you to Flames Digest. I am Mark Griffith. If you're new around here, you love the Flames, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest news, updates, reports, and rumors revolving around your Calgary Flames. We would love to welcome you to the Flames Digest family, and let's get into this kind of question, sort of decision that needs to be made here of, do the Flames sign Barrie? Now, he has played very, very well in the preseason, and I think that was kind of expected. He was brought in just on this opportunity, not even just for a contract, but on this opportunity to provide, some guidance, insight, leadership to some of the younger guys. But it can become complicated because those things are very valuable, and we know he's a good player, an offensive defenseman. But the Flames already have some guys who will kind of already be quarterbacking the power play and running the offense, some would say, or at least chipping in, pinching. But it's interesting because you can bring Barrie in, but if he's in, then does that mean the young guys go out? So what's the point of having that leadership if you don't even have the young guys? I know, so many questions, but let's, as we always do, let an article do some of the talking here. And it comes from Eric Francis of Sportsnet. He's been writing a ton lately and providing tons of content. Shout out to him. But he says Tyson Barrie still fighting to prolong career while on Flames PTO. And I mean, it's all about the decision that Barrie is making even tougher. Tyson Barrie's gap-toothed grin does well to mask the anxiety he's sure to be feeling of late. In the next handful of days, his playing future will be decided with 2 remaining preseason games likely to help determine his fate. In Calgary, on a PTO, the veteran rearguard is in tough against a group of youngsters who happen to represent the strength of the organization, and that is absolutely true. Right now, the absolute strength, the biggest things coming into the organization is the youth. I apologize a ton if you can hear the dog barking. My brother really needs to get that dog trained. But either way, hopefully you're just hearing my voice and not the dog. Let's get into some quotes from Barrie and not from the dog. I probably didn't see myself in this position at this point in my career, but it's a young man's game and I'm 33 now and it's a hard league to stay in, said Barrie. And that's true. With how fast the game seems to progress every single year, it is harder to stay in the league, especially as a defenseman who needs to shut down some of these younger guys. But again, there's a lot of pros and cons to being a veteran, and Barrie obviously has some of those. If you want to stay in it, you have to do some things differently and keep evolving your game. For me, this is part of my journey, and hopefully I'll be able to put it behind me and keep playing. I wouldn't want to do it every year, but it's fun to challenge yourself. The question is whether the Flames decide to make room on a crowded depth chart for an offensive specialist, albeit with a significant upside. Barrie's 505 points place him 10th among active NHL defensemen, but Weegar, Andersson, and Miramanov are all pegged as the Flames' power play drivers. So there you go. One reason why you would sign Barrie and bring him in would be to be on the power play. You would assume, right? Because he's so comfortable there. That's, been the bread and butter of his career, where he's got so many of his points and where he's truly excelled. I mean, as a lot of other defensemen do, and just players in general. But the Flames do already have Weegar, Andersson, and Miramanov as well. So where would Barrie kind of fit on that quarterback depth chart there for the Calgary Flames? Very interesting. Is that a reason to bring him in? Does that make the decision even tougher? I'm not too sure. Let's look at some of the other options here. So Ball, who was acquired in the Jacob Markstrom trade, started skating only a few days ago and is likely to battle Jake Bean for a top 4 role now that Bean has also resumed skating. So that kind of rounds out the top 4, I suppose. Pahal is the team's heaviest hitter and has had a great camp as a second-year Flame. Obviously coming over from, I think it was waivers for Vegas, but it was kind of an immediate replacement for Noah Hannafin, even though I think he might have come before Hannafin was traded. But either way, Barrie could be signed to be the 7th man. So if you're counting the 4 we mentioned before, plus Bean and Pahal to round out the 6, then Barrie could be signed as the 7th man, who could be inserted for a different look. If one night you're going for total offense, bring him in. If one night you want pure defense, make sure Pahal is in there. Definitely Ball is in there. So interesting here. So if Barrie isn't signed, Hanley is in the final year of a one-way contract and would likely start the season as the extra defender. So let's say the Flames do not sign Barrie. He doesn't get out of this PTO, doesn't get that contract. Then you would assume Joel Hanley would be the seventh man. But as we've said in many videos, there's still a lot of other options here. Several youngsters are pushing and could also step into the lineup, including Ilya Solovyov, who was placed on waivers Tuesday but appears at age 24 to be ready to play more than the 10 NHL games he played last year on Calgary's left side. Yeah, another big guy who's a shutdown D-man and, can kind of chip in offensively a little bit too. We've seen in this preseason training camp type of deal. So interesting to see if Solovyov will obviously remain in the organization and if he will get a shot at the NHL level. Right shot Hunter Brustevich has also had a very solid showing in his first camp with the Flames since being acquired in the Elias Lindholm swap. The 19-year-old junior star will one day run the Flames power play, maybe with Zane Parekh as well, but is almost certainly destined to open his first pro season with the Wranglers. And that is absolutely true. At some point, I'm sure he'll come up to the NHL level. It just won't be on that opening night roster. As good as he is, it's just not time quite yet for him. Next, we have Jeremy Poirier is another offensively gifted blue liner the club would likely love to see make some appearances this year, but it won't be in the opening night roster, but another option there. Then we get veteran Jared Tenorti, who is also a capable fill-in, having played over 200 NHL games. Pure defensive defenseman, so the exact opposite, genuinely, of Tyson Barrie. If you keep Tenorti around, well, I mean, he's signed, but if you play him at the NHL level, you'd almost certainly not have Barrie in there. So interesting to see if Barrie is in, who comes out. These guys not really would be the ones going for the opening night roster spot. It's more so between some of those guys we talked about before. But either way, interesting for sure. Last one here. Artem Grushnikov, acquired in the Chris Tanev trade, is a 21-year-old second rounder and was one of the most pleasant surprises in camp, despite having just 1 year of pro hockey under his belt. Amazing player so far. I think a lot of people have been very impressed with what he has done in the preseason and throughout training camp. He didn't look out of place before the Flames assigned him, so here we go. I was going to make this its own chapter in this video, but I decided to just keep it with the article. So Grushnikov, Yan Kuznetsov, and Valtteri Ignatiu were all sent down to the Wranglers yesterday. So they obviously won't be in that opening night roster, but remaining with the organization, of course, and all primed to do well with the Wranglers this season. We'll see how much Ignatiu gets to play, but very excited. He looked great in the Young Stars Classic. And then, of course, Kuznetsov has come up before. We know what he's all about, and Grushnikov looks really, really good as well. They're all going to be with the Wranglers to start the season, but could all come up at some point, depending on performance and injury and whatnot. But I want to ask you guys, what do you think? Should the Flames sign Barrie? Is it time for him to, take control of this, bring that leadership for some of the younger guys, and kind of just keep him around for, maybe a year, and that's fine because the Flames are kind of going to tank? Or do you sign him to try and be better offensively and try and make the playoffs? I know there's so many options. Let me know what you think down below. Should the Flames sign Barrie, and is this a tough decision after all? Now let's get into tonight's game, which is actually going to be a very, very interesting one. It is the second last game of the preseason, and it is a pure audition type game, it looks like, for, some of these guys trying to get some of those last spots. So the Flames are in Winnipeg tonight. That game goes at 6 p.m. But again, some of those guys fighting for, fourth line minutes or even potentially top nine, they're all going to be playing. So guys like Coronado's, you can see here, Pelche's in there, Schwint, Sam Morton, Adam Klapka, a lot of those guys that are truly auditioning. Even Walker Dewar, Dryden Hunt, they're in there as well. It'll be very interesting to see them play. And then, of course, Barrie will be playing in the D core for this one. I know Tenorti's in there. More so the veterans are getting the night off. They know they're on the team. This is more so to kind of their tryouts, really, when it comes down to it. It really is coming down to it. But it's a tryout game, total audition. We'll have to see who steps up to really want to make the NHL Calgary Flames team out of training camp. Now let's wrap up this video with the comment of the day, as we love to do. And this one was about yesterday's video about Sammy Honzek once again impressing like absolute crazy. And I like this comment here from Joe Scores 19. And Joe said, there's no reason why Huska can't replicate what St. Louis did with Slav, as in Slavkovsky, of course, and Marty St. Louis. Slowly build him into a full-time NHLer across 2 years. The metrics are there. Waive Hunt and Rooney. And I know waiving Hunt and Rooney is in some ways a little bit drastic, but I agree. What's with the dedication to Kevin Rooney? I don't think he's in the plans for the future. I understand why he's, somewhat solidified on that fourth line, but again, if there's an opportunity to bring up some of these younger guys, get them valuable experience and good minutes, why not do it? And then, of course, we can take our time with Honzik, just like Slavkovsky, and who knows who he will become. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe, like what you saw here today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.